Welcome to the Cloud Pod, where the forecast is always cloudy. We talk weekly about all things AWS, Google, and Azure. We are your hosts,
Justin,
Jonathan,
and Peter. Episode 42, recorded on October 13th, 2019. You had one job while I was away. Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back from vacation.
The slave driver returns.
The slave driver returns. I did notice that I left on episode 41, and I've now returned on episode 42, which means you failed exactly as I predicted you would do.
You
at the
did.
End of the show.
We just didn't want to. We didn't want you to miss out. That's all it is.
Yeah, I know. But now we have a mammoth show that you're going to have to edit, and so that's all
okay.
on you.
That's okay. That's good.
Yeah. Well, what were you guys up to?
We scheduled twice. It just never happened.
Yeah, it just never happened. It happens. Yeah. I understand completely. So what were you guys up to the last 2 weeks? You guys been busy?
Always.
So did I miss anything fun, you guys, over the last 2 weeks?
You did. I noticed your YouTube video interview with AWS from your trip to the serverless, was it like a dev conference or something? I saw that video post. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I mean, I was there for Tech Evangelist Conference as just kind of a panel speaker for part of that. But then after that, I did the recording, and it's this fireside chat with the serverless people, Ben Kehoe and Phil Potloff, the Director of Enterprise Strategy at AWS. And so, yeah, it's just me talking about our serverless journey at my day job. So, yeah, you can learn all about that on the AWS YouTube channel, and I'll link to it in the show notes. But, yeah, they did publish it several weeks after they said they were going to. But yeah, it's out there, and it's I haven't watched it personally, but I did hear from you, Jonathan, that you thought it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
What was your favorite part?
My favorite part?
Yeah.
Oh, God. These on-the-spot questions.
It's fine. You could edit out the awkward pause.
I don't know if I had a favorite part. It was just a chat about
There's no
serverless.
gotcha. There's no
Did
gotcha
you see how
line.
he struggled to find something nice to say about me? Did you see that?
Actually, no, I thought you did a really good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I haven't watched it yet. My wife watched it. Other people have watched it. They said it was really good, and seeing myself on video is just too much. So I'm back on a diet after seeing at least the screenshots. I was like, oh, back on the keto diet, folks. So that is happening in my life this week. The other thing that came out I saw while I was out was our guest visit on the Roaring Elephant podcast dropped, episode 161 and apparently 162 or 163. That's a two-parter. But Peter and you and I, we all joined John and the other gentleman to talk about cloud and how we see the cloud in the world today. And it was good. It's a good interview. I haven't listened to that either yet because I'm just back from vacation. But Jonathan, you said you did listen to it.
I did, yeah. It's weird listening back to something like that a few weeks after we recorded it. I was like, oh, really? That's actually quite interesting. Oh, that was me.
That happens to me every week on the podcast. I'm listening to it. I'm like, wait, Jonathan said that in the show? That's really good insight. I didn't know. I actually think you're just editing them in during post. You're like, oh, I have a really good thought, and you just edited it in.
I haven't done that yet.
Cheater.
I haven't
Cheater.
done that. I will. I might do.
Yeah. Let's move on to this massive amount of news here, and we'll get back on track next week, guys, back on normal podcasting schedule. First up, in general news, Oracle has launched their FedRAMP-Authorized government cloud region. They've achieved FedRAMP Medium authorization, and this allows them to basically sell to a large number of government agencies. This is in 2 of their regions globally are now FedRAMP compliant, and the Oracle Cloud for Government is optimized around Oracle databases with REC and Exadata options, as well as a new autonomous database services and key features for data-intensive workloads.
I told you they were just going to sandbag and keep suing somebody until they got their cloud up to spec for Jedi.
Yeah, that seems what they're trying to do.
We'll give it a shot.
Cue in the halfway there song.
Yeah, that's about all I got to say about that, really. I mean, good for them.
You guys remember I think about a couple months back, actually, back in April, May timeframe, Oracle laid off about 2,000 employees in their cloud business. And apparently reports this week are they're adding 2,000 jobs into their cloud business to help build out the 20 new data centers they announced at OCI and the Oracle Open World Conference a couple weeks ago. Apparently, this is only 18,000 of their entire 136,000 employee workforce, which is mostly lawyers. It includes about 2,000 new employees into the cloud business, and this will be most likely driving their data center expansion needs and continued development to catch up with AWS and Azure.
I would love to see how long it's going to take them to fill all those recs, because let's face it, that's 2,000 recs they're going to open, not 2,000 people they're going to hire.
Right.
Well, they're hiring them in Seattle, so that way they can hopefully entice people away from both Amazon and Azure with large paychecks and bonuses. That's their go-to model. That's also where they laid off everybody in April and May too. So they have a lot of office
So
space.
crazy. Don't you think it'd be cheaper to just train people on doing something different?
It just clearly shows how disjointed their strategy is for cloud, and they have no idea what they're doing, and they are just flailing trying to get any relevance in the space. Well, AWS is facing a lawsuit from Elasticsearch for trademark infringement. They have sued AWS for the use of Elasticsearch for the open distro for Elasticsearch, which they released in combination with AWS, Netflix, and Expedia several months ago. And they say here in the complaint, due to Amazon's misleading use of the Elasticsearch mark, consumers of search and analytics software are at least likely to be confused as to whether Elastic sponsors or approves Amazon Elasticsearch service and open distro, the complaint states. Amazon's misleading use of Elasticsearch also misrepresents the nature, characteristics, and/or qualities of AESS because, on information and belief, disables certain functionality available from Elastic's Elasticsearch product and includes software code not offered by Elastic in any Elasticsearch product, the complaint states. Amazon uses the Elasticsearch mark, therefore constitutes false advertising. So that's the interesting salvo from the world of Elasticsearch and AWS and open source.
I was pretty surprised when Amazon came out and used Elasticsearch in the name. It seems so much easier to just avoid it, but I'm not surprised that this is the outcome.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either. I think we talked about this on the show actually, that using open distro for Elasticsearch was kind of a dirty
it
move.
It was, but if you
consortium.
make a derivative work from an open source product, you're kind of obliged to reference the original documentation. So the fine line between copyright and trademark, but I'm sure the word Elasticsearch appears all over that repository, which is open source. So to claim that they're using it illegally, I think is probably not something they're going to win.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, if they do win, then we continue to have things like MariaDB, which no one knows are tied to MySQL. And if they lose, maybe we can get it's not owned by Oracle SQL instead of MariaDB. So I definitely think there's interesting ramifications one way or the other. But I definitely think it'll be an interesting case to follow in court and see if they end up anywhere. They are asking for an injunction on this right now from Amazon to stop distributing open distro for Elasticsearch while this court case goes through. I don't think they'll win that. Or if they do, that'll just be, Amazon has to rename it temporarily.
It'll be Amazon Search with Elasticsearch compatibility.
There you go. Well, and I wonder if Mongo is coming very soon to also sue them for DocumentDB with MongoDB compatibility. You think maybe they should have teamed up? They're both open source companies that are pretty small.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, there's no mention of Elastic suing Netflix or any of the other partners in the project though, so it's.
Well, they didn't advertise it.
I think it's because they didn't advertise it and they didn't announce it and they didn't put it on their blog. So I think that's what happens. Well, moving on, let's talk about Ansible. So there was a recent analysis by John Furrer of the Cube and SiliconANGLE talking about Ansible holding the pole position for automation, and he asked the question: is it too good and too small though? He says automation is going to grow into a highly competitive, highly relevant, and lucrative marketplace for companies, and Ansible is in the pole position to capture that for Red Hat. They actually have proof points. The community is demonstrating that the process can be more efficient, the technology works, and people are transforming with this technology at the Ansible Fest in Atlanta a couple weeks ago. What do you guys think about Ansible? I'm not a huge fan of it because I think you don't really need it, but I know some people are really big fans of it.
Yeah, I'm not really. I mean, I think as far as infrastructure automation goes or infrastructure orchestration goes, it's nice to have like a solution that works in a private data center or perhaps in the cloud, and you would want a common platform, which Terraform is kind of trying to do the same thing. But as far as like online configuration management and tweaking things live, I don't know. I've never been a great fan of doing that kind of thing. I'd rather build a new thing, test it, and then switch over. So you got a good failback path, rather than tweaking stuff in production.
I can say that I've been playing engineer at customers for the last 5 months or so, doing a ton of Ansible. And I found some amazingly fun ways to use Ansible to create configurations. And, for the most part, it's not tweaking live boxes. It's using it to automate the build of boxes. But doing some super cool stuff around a much smaller set of configuration management code to manage that does lots of stuff, like 150 lines of Ansible code and YAML that ends up generating 4,000 lines of configuration code in the boxes needed for the type of software that's running on the box. So I think it's super cool, and I think there's a million different uses for stuff like this, not necessarily just making sure somebody didn't change your Apache config.
Fair point.
I mean, it's not really designed to do drift detection or anything like that. It's not like a chef or a puppet that'll reset a configuration back. It's a one-time orchestration play, right? So I have several thousand nodes I want to go change Apache to. I can run Ansible to do that as one use case, I know, and then there's a couple others, like you mentioned, for baking images. I actually think it's interesting from a security perspective, too, because you can use it to go search thousands of servers for a specific file that may be a vulnerability-related thing. I think there are some benefits to it, but I don't know that I agree with it as being this end-all, be-all configuration management tool. That's where I struggle with it. I think it has a lot of really great orchestration capabilities across thousands of hosts or across network devices and such, but I struggle when people talk about it as a replacement for Chef or Puppet.
It would be my preference over Chef, to be honest, because I think...
Well, I mean, I think anyone's preference over Chef right now.
Yeah, I liked it over Chef, because I did a bunch of ops work stuff in the past with Chef, and I thought Ansible was both more powerful and easier for me to grok.
Yeah.
How it worked.
But I mean, you do a lot of CloudFormation, so I mean, how do you feel about Cloud init versus Ansible, or have you tried anything with Salt Stack? Because I particularly like Salt right now as well.
I haven't tried Salt, might be just as good, and I still would pick Terraform any day of the year to handle my infrastructure automation. But for systems, so far Ansible's my favorite.
Even over Cloud init?
Even over Cloud init. In fact, I run Ansible in my user data lots of time.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a pretty common use case. For Salt as well. Definitely has a space. I'm just not as big on it yet. But I also hate Spinnaker, so I mean, I guess I'm just on the wrong side of that argument right now.
So what's this being too good and too small? I mean, what's wrong with being too good?
Yep, that doesn't make any sense.
I think it's I didn't really quite understand that opinion either, but I think it's the fact that it's such a small portion of Red Hat's business. It really doesn't have any revenue, and so it's very open source driven, and I don't know if they just feel like it doesn't have the legs to really be adopted widespread in enterprise. I think that's what he's trying to refer to, but yeah, we'll see.
Maybe if they charged $50,000 a year for it, then more people would pay for it.
Well, they do have an Ansible enterprise offering called Ansible Tower, but I think we looked at it one time and it was just worthless. So it didn't really do anything other than give you basic visualizations of what it does. You can't make any changes. You can't execute anything from the tower.
I kind of get the feeling that Systems Manager is going to displace Ansible, especially in Amazon Cloud.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. But Amazon Systems Manager this week has added the ability to execute complex Ansible playbooks. Amazon SSM, of course, now supports that ability directly from either GitHub or S3 through Systems Manager run commands or a State Manager. And this is, in my opinion, so much better than SSM documents. So I guess maybe if I want to get really big into Ansible, or SSM is my pathway into it, and maybe I'll become a convert here. Of course, this allows you to use your existing Ansible automations and to benefit you from the control and safety provided by SSM. You can execute a series of playbooks that are zipped while controlling the execution velocity and responding to errors. And you can also use complex playbooks to manage and enforce the desired state of EC2 and on-premises instances, as of course SSM does work with on-premise boxes. Any execution required that requires dependencies is pre-installed by State Manager and is available for you in all commercial and GovCloud regions.
Excellent.
That is awesome. I think that was one of the kind of weaknesses, and the one little pain with Ansible was I don't want to run it centrally and have 22 open everywhere to do that. And I don't, you run it on, if you're going to run it on a cron, you're basically trying to turn it into Chef. But then you got to monitor the cron job. And so I think it'd be super cool to have it running out of Systems Manager. So I can't wait to try that.
Hey everyone, Jonathan here. I just wanted to take a minute to thank the cloud consulting gurus at Foghorn for helping make the Cloud Pod possible. These folks truly get it. Cloud consulting experts since 2008, they are premier tier partners with AWS, Google Cloud Platform Silver, and Microsoft Azure partners. From multi-cloud to containers to moving full production workloads to the cloud under the tightest compliance, Foghorn's team of full-stack cloud engineers have been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt, and are ready to share their experience with you. If you're in the market for some talent to supplement your team, visit www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. Foghorn, the promise of cloud delivered.
AWS DataSync has the ability now to use S3 storage classes natively. So instead of using a DataSync to copy to an S3 bucket and then using a lifecycle policy, you can actually directly move into Glacier or into Deep Archive. It also now supports replication to SMB and new regions support, VPC endpoint support, and FIPS 140-2 support for validated endpoints in the US regions. These are endpoints terminate TLS sessions using the FIPS 140-2 validated crypto software. Then, of course, they also provide you some additional file and folder filtering capabilities and embedded CloudWatch metrics. This is a pretty big update to the DataSync product in general.
I haven't used it yet. Have you guys used DataSync?
Nope, I have not.
No, I mean, is it just a kind of a software version of Storage Gateway?
Sort of. Storage Gateway still kind of maintains the data in a weird state on S3, right? Where this DataSync actually copies, it synchronizes the data, and it's kind of like RoboCopy, but in the cloud. That's how I would look at it.
I'm not sure it warrants having its own service, really. But
well, I mean, there's a lot of things that Amazon customers question that about. So, like, this is a whole service. I don't understand that. So.
Yeah, it seems like they could have squeezed it in as a feature of another service.
Yeah, you'd think they could.
Like DMS. It would be perfect for DMS.
Yeah, why can't it just be a DMS feature?
I kind of feel like it's just a way of charging for data you would otherwise get for free. You don't normally pay for data ingressing to the EC2 cloud. And so if you use the DataSync service, then now you start paying per gigabyte for the data that you're copying up there. So that's kind of
they could still use the DMS acronym too, because instead of database migration service, it's been data migration service. Then they could have covered both use cases.
Yeah,
that's kind of sneaky.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, if you're a small and medium-sized company and you're looking for help with your AWS services, Amazon has a new offering for you. This is the new AWS IQ service. This is a marketplace to allow you to get connected to certified third-party experts on demand. This is ideally targeted, of course, like I said, for small and medium companies, but you can use it if you're a larger enterprise as well. You can engage with a certified expert on a single project or multiple projects, and you can allow them access to your AWS account through IAM, controls, grants, and audits, all through the AWS IQ console. And it also allows you to handle paying the experts as they reach certain milestones on your project. So this is a nice little simple project management outsourcing capability to allow you to simply outsource some very common AWS tasks. So this is pretty nice. I actually signed up for this months ago because I'm a certified DevOps engineer. And so they sent us an invite email to go sign up for your profile and all that. And so you can actually find me in the directory if you look for me.
Can I buy you?
No, you can't because I'm busy. But I won't accept your bid. But it's definitely. I'm out there in the system, and something. If you're certified, go sign up for it. If you're looking for freelance work, unlike me. And if you are looking for help, but you don't want to go pay for a very large Accenture type company, of course, call Foghorn first. But if that doesn't work for you, then definitely check out AWS IQ.
Yeah.
Smooth.
It's funny. It's just these products have been, these marketplaces have been around for so long. It'll be interesting to see if it gets traction.
I like the fact that, versus something like Upwork, who's been around forever. It's integrated into IAM, it's integrated into the billing system, so you don't have to, you don't have to set up a new relationship with Upwork or anything like that, just for this simple case. But of course, if you're a small, medium business, I assume you're doing a lot of work with Upwork for other things like marketing and logs and podcast editing, etc. So there's definitely things that you're doing probably already on Upwork. So I don't know how much it makes sense, but it's a good idea. Glad to see it.
I'm not sure if it's good for the people who are doing the work though, because it's you create a marketplace like this, and all of a sudden it pushes the your income down significantly.
Or maybe it makes it go up because you have to be certified to be on this, and so you can potentially charge a premium rate.
Okay,
we will find out.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I wonder if there'll be numbers out there for us to compare. I wonder if they'll publish anything.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd be curious to see, if you can use them to augment your own project teams or something like that. Like, hey, I need this person who really understands Cloud HSM, for example, and I can go grab a guy on there and pay him for a little bit of work. It'd be interesting to see. Especially with the wide number of services you can get with AWS now, it's hard to find people who know all of them. Like, I think if you asked any of us how to make Elemental work, we would all say, I have no idea. Because I don't think any of us have used it. And so that's definitely something that you might want to get expert help for. EC2 has some new high memory instance classes for you. These are new bare metal instances available to you in 18 terabyte and 24 terabytes of memory configurations. These are ideally for SAP HANA workloads. And these are 8-socket instances powered by Cascade Lake-based Xeon processors running at 2.7 gigahertz. Available in US East 1 only today, but more regions coming very soon. I did try to go find you guys pricing, as I typically do when they do a new instance type, but the pricing is hidden. I cannot find it anywhere on the web. Which means that if you have to ask how much it costs, you don't want to use it, or you can't afford it. And I also have to say that I don't know how I feel about applications that require 24 terabytes of memory to perform. I don't know if I feel that is a super strong selling point for SAP HANA.
Yeah, sort of reaching the limits of scalability at that point, really.
25. I need 25. 25 terabytes.
I mean, I want 128 gigs, or terabytes. 128 terabytes RAM, please. That's what I need. That's how I get my Splunk systems to run.
Yeah, just everything. EIM, everything in memory, would be the new term.
Exactly. I bet it could run Oracle RAC really good, too.
Yeah.
All right. Amazon EKS has officially announced Windows container support. As you guys all know, Kubernetes 1.14 and above now officially support Windows containers, and this is now available in Amazon EKS. I actually think this might have beat Google Cloud on supporting Windows natively in GKE, but I had to go check the dates on that or not. AMIs have been updated for this and can be queried via the parameter store, which we talked about previously, or specified in your CloudFormation code or Terraform code natively to deploy new container runtimes that will support Windows containers on EKS. So if you're excited about Windows containers like I am not, you should go run out and set this up immediately.
So does this have to run on a Windows host, like Docker?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So that AMI you would query for the parameter store is a Windows AMI.
I mean, like really,
interesting.
The only reason for putting something in a Windows container is so I don't have to manage a Windows host. But now I've still got to manage the host anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not really ideal for me either. I still think .NET Core on Linux is the way to go.
Yeah, but if you're stuck with some shrink wrap software that only runs on Windows, and all the rest of your workloads are on Kubernetes containers, it's like,
if your application only runs on Windows, how do you feel that the vendor is going to say when you say, "Hey, I containerized your app and put it onto EKS. Can I get support for that?" They're going to tell you, "No," because they're
probably going to tell you that. They're probably going to say no.
Yeah, they're probably going to say no.
But if it works, who cares? Then you can get rid of all the other crap and just use your same deployment pipelines, and all your guys can use the same tools. I mean, like if you have that last 5% of stuff that you just can't get there, I don't know.
Do you pay extra per Windows container, for a licensing fee, or do you just pay to license the host?
No, you license at the host level.
Okay, so it's really screwed.
24 terabytes. Can I do a 24 terabyte memory host?
Would you like to run your Windows container in 24 terabytes? It might actually run well. So
yeah.
I mean, it'll still take 100 gigs of download just to get a container on your box, but it's fine. Yes, Windows containers, don't do it if you can help it. But there are use cases like Peter just mentioned. So if that's you, I'm sorry, but this now helps you out. All right, moving on to Google News. Cloud Build has brought advanced CI/CD capabilities to GitHub. If you're using CI/CD as part of your dev environment, of course, so being able to configure and trigger builds based on repo events is essential to creating Git-based advanced CI/CD workflows and multi-environment rollouts. To continue to help you do this, Google has released a Cloud Build GitHub app. This allows you to trigger builds on specific pull requests, branches, or tagging events. For example, only when a PR is created or a release tag is applied to a repo. You can also trigger builds by which files have changed, so if you can ignore things like a README file. And this is also really helpful for people doing mono repos in particular. You can now also view build status directly in GitHub, and you can also now create and manage triggers automatically with a trigger.yaml file in your GitHub. So that's a pretty nice enhancement if you're big in the Google Cloud and trying to do code building natively on Google.
Yeah, not to be outdone by GitHub Actions. They released this feature now. So.
Well, I mean, this is the native version versus GitHub Actions, which is not. Yeah. So it's I'm sure there's other tie-ins into things like GKE and other things that this is advantageous for you to use that I did not cover. Yeah. Google has released new AI-based recommenders. These allow you to optimize your Google Cloud environment. They use machine learning and AI to determine things like IAM permissions and compute resource availability, and so these are available for you today. New recommenders will be coming out in beta over the next few months, but these first two, the IAM one will make sure your IAM permissions are not too permissive and allow you to restrict them down using that machine learning code. And the compute will tell you that your instances are over-provisioned or under-provisioned, and you need to change the instance sizes. So these are nice little tools to help you save money on Google.
Do you think this is really a sensible use case for AI or machine learning. I mean, surely this is fairly deterministic. If you have enough spare compute and memory that you can scale down, then scale down. If you don't, then you scale up. And I don't get what the value is of having the AI tag to this.
It's because it's marketing, Jonathan.
Statistics. I mean, statistics have been around for a long time. So,
well, on the compute side, definitely statistics are your play, and you don't really need AI there, and you probably don't really need machine learning there either. You just patterns and some type of trending analysis and future tense kind of plotting would figure that out. The IAM though might be a little more tricky because you're combining data from cloud, from CloudTrail type logs, and I don't know what they're calling Google, but they're not CloudTrail. But with logs and different IAM permissions, and you're looking at what is a role used over the last period of time, and you need to determine that. So I mean, there's definitely some parsing done, which would be maybe machine learning, but the AI part is a stretch. But everything in marketing today marks everything as AI and machine learning.
Yeah. I strongly believe that you should know what permissions you need to give boxes, and if you need AI to do it, if AI can do it better than you can, then maybe you should use the AI for now and think about the fact that you should change that as soon as you possibly can, so you know what you need.
You need the real I.
Exactly. Just I.
Yeah, the other one I have a real big pet peeve with right now is AI Ops. And it really is all these tools that basically allow you to deduplicate alerts. And they do some other things with that too. It's calling them short. That's all they do. But it's just one of these weird, why you're just adding AI to operations and monitoring tools, and it's just something that we've been doing for a long time in monitoring. You put a new fancy name on it. Yeah, it's a trend. Speaking of other machine learning capabilities, Google has released a new version of AutoML Vision Edge, their AutoML Video, and their Video Intelligence API. The new AutoML Vision Edge can now detect objects, and this is in addition to the image classification previously released with this feature. Now, I'm not entirely sure how you did image classification without object detection, but apparently you could, and so now you can do both, though. So if you want to know for object detection is a critical piece for your use case, such as identifying a piece of an outfit in a picture, they can now do that for you. The AutoML Video can now also track objects, including movement of multiple objects between frames. This is super helpful for apps that monitor traffic, or sports analytics, or robotic navigation. And then the Video Intelligence API can now offer pre-trained machine learning models that recognize things like logos for over 100,000 different logos out there in the world, and many, many more things as well. So these are pretty nice improvements to ML technology from Google if you're using those. And now you can detect objects.
As you can detect objects as long as you don't want to use their service to make a competing product. So no self-driving cars, no home automation, no home security products, things like that. So it's like the licensing terms for these vision engines are really restrictive.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I had not looked at them. Can I use Google's AutoML to help my Deep Racer win at AWS? Is that allowed?
You could try. I mean, if you actually ever get one delivered.
I heard someone got one delivered recently. So.
Wow. Only 10 months after the pre-orders were open. That's
yeah, I mean, and just in time for reInvent, right? So there you go. All right, moving on to other additional news. Google has extended Stackdriver logging across clouds and providers with a new bindplane integration. This allows you to connect your Stackdriver instances to over 150 different metric sources, and a new partnership with Blue Medora to allow you to connect to your on-premises and other cloud providers. That way you can have one centralized logging system and monitoring system to rule them all.
Nice.
So you get the benefits of the Stackdriver technology, which is actually pretty nice. I actually really recommend it. I like it much better than CloudWatch. But that is available to you for use now on-premise and in other clouds. So if you're making the switch from AWS or Azure to Google for some reason, you can now use this to monitor both sides.
excellent.
Yeah, Google's practicing what they preached as far as enabling multi-cloud environments.
Only costs 50 cents a gig for logging.
Only 50 cents per gig.
50 cents a gig. That's Splunk worthy.
That's cheap compared to Splunk. So I don't know what you're talking about there.
Still 10x CloudWatch logs, but
Yeah,
cheap
still
compared to Splunk.
Yeah.
But can you send CloudWatch logs from on-premise? Is that a possibility?
Maybe you could send CloudWatch logs from anyway, yeah. But CloudWatch isn't a debugger or a tracer or a profiler or application.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't have anything else that
It's-
Stackdriver
no,
has.
no.
Yeah, it's very, very bare bones.
Threshold, notification. That's it.
Yep.
And
Very true.
billing. Don't forget billing.
Right. Moving on to Azure, they have announced the new Azure Storage Explorer 1.10. This apparently in the press release has said that the Azure has released a new version. The latest version adds several exciting new features and delivers significant updates to existing functionality. These features will make users more efficient and productive when working with Azure Storage, Cosmos DB, ADLS Gen 2, and managed disks. The new features include new user settings, ability to explore canonical snaps, and support for managed disks. So I guess if you are trying to make sense of all of that massive amounts of storage complexity that you have in Azure, this will help you do that.
And what were the exciting ones?
I don't know. That was the. I tried to emphasize my wording there. Maybe it didn't come across. I mean, I did do the finger quotes when I said exciting, but you guys didn't see that.
Yeah.
Azure Sentinel general availability is now out there. A modern SIEM reimagined in the cloud. Azure Sentinel, of course, was announced sometime last year as their SIEM offering to compete with things like GuardDuty and Security Hub. And with the help of customers and partners and feedback from over 12,000 trials during the preview, they have brought the power of Azure and AI to enable SOC teams to achieve more. Features of the now GA product include the ability to collect and analyze nearly limitless volumes of security data, apply analytics, including machine learning, to detect threats, expedite threat hunting, incident investigation, and responses, building on their expertise of Microsoft and community members with the Sentinel GitHub repo with over 400 detection, exploratory, and hunting tech queries, plus Azure notebook samples and Python libraries, and support for managed service providers and complex customer instances. Pay as you go for Sentinel at $2.60 per gigabyte, or you can commit to discounts in advance if you are going to use this as your SIEM solution, which I would recommend you do, because once you get this data, it's very helpful. So Azure beats out Google and AWS to SIEM.
Yeah, and it's
to a true SIEM.
and it's really pretty too.
Oh yeah, it's very sexy. I still hope that AWS and Google come out with competitive things for this, because it's really sexy.
I mean, if not, then potentially you could ship your data off to Azure to visualize and do analytics on.
Yeah.
Great. I can send all my CloudTrail logs from AWS, pay outbound traffic fees to Azure to then process in their SIEM. That's great.
You get what you pay for.
Do.
But it's so pretty. It's so pretty. I love a good tool. It's a great tool. So, all right. Windows Virtual Desktops are now generally available worldwide. Windows Virtual Desktops is the only service that delivers simplified management, a multi-session Windows 10 experience, optimizations for Office 365 Pro Plus, and support for Windows Remote Desktop Services, apps, and desktops. It supports Windows 10, Windows Server, and Windows 7 desktop experiences with free extended security updates for up to 3 years on Windows 7. So if you are still struggling to get to Windows 10, this will help you out tremendously if you're trying to virtualize those instances. So overall, the company that should have had VDI first finally has it. Thank you, Azure.
Yep, and that's what we have to say about that, really.
How could that take so long? That is incredible.
Well, I mean, they had it for a while because I knew Virtual Desktop existed, but I didn't realize it wasn't globally distributed yet, which is brutal.
Yeah.
And then there's also Windows 10 multi-session. I didn't know what that was either. But apparently they renamed Windows Remote Desktop Protocol Service to Windows 10 multi-session. So
Okay.
just obscurity through naming. That's how I see it.
And I just mentioned that Windows 10 has been around for 4.5 years at this point.
Is it 4.5 years old?
It is, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, mid 2015.
Wow. I should really reform my Windows box someday because I think it's still running a preview version of Windows 10. Well, details. Microsoft and Pivotal are launching a new Azure Spring Cloud service. This is now available in preview to you. This makes it easier for developers to build microservices-based applications atop the Spring Boot framework. Azure Spring Cloud in private preview allows you to have a fully managed and production-ready Azure cloud service that can be used to build scalable microservices without worrying about the supporting information technology infrastructure. Spring Boot is, of course, a simplified version of the overall Spring framework. It also comes with KPAC, which is a set of resource controllers for Kubernetes, and is fully integrated into Kubernetes service on Azure, AKS, and also easily integrates into the Azure monitoring service to give you insights onto the state of their application health and performance. So there you go. If you're using Pivotal and you're a Java shop on Azure, I'm sorry, but now you can make it easier on yourselves with this new managed infrastructure.
I can't think of anything to say about Spring.
You guys are shocked with amazement of Java
Yes.
on
Yes.
Azure. I see it. I
Shocked.
got it. I understand. Introducing the preview of direct upload to Azure Managed Disks. Apparently, if you're using Azure Managed Disks and you want to transfer a VHD from your on-premises environment to the storage system on Azure, you had to either use a storage account before converting it to a managed disk, or attach it to an empty disk on a virtual machine and do a copy between disk drives. Both these methods, of course, are disadvantaged because they're stupid, and either from requiring you to provision more storage than needed, or the increased cost for running a VM to do the data copy. And now Azure has given you basic functionality that you should have had all along. So there you go, you guys. Hey, and that Azure Storage Explorer we talked about earlier, this is one of those exciting features it now supports.
I mean,
There you go.
I don't know if you've ever built your own AMI from uploading a virtual disk on AWS. It's pretty clunky.
I looked at it one time, and after step 7, I was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, no,
it's not worth my time.
You gave it to me to do.
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great when you miss the fine print and you didn't do the one tiny little thing you're supposed to do, and then it doesn't work and you have to start all over.
Yeah, it's like you get to the end of the recipe where it's like, by the way, you should have preheated your oven to 500 degrees.
Yeah.
And this has to be in the oven within 5 minutes
Yeah,
of finishing
exactly.
and mixing
Yeah,
it, and you're
yeah.
like, no.
The souffle sinks, whatever. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, I really think they should abstract all this stuff away.
I mean, Azure clearly disagrees with you, Jonathan, because they have so many storage offerings to you now that they have a storage explorer to allow you to check them all out.
I'm sure someday we will look back at our podcast and laugh at how complicated everything was.
I hope that day doesn't come soon, because we're having fun with the podcast. And if it's simple, we won't have to podcast anymore.
Just be something. There will be something else to talk about. There's always something to do.
All right. Well, Peter, I want to take us to the lightning round.
Yeah, oh my goodness. This is chock full, so we're going to crank through this one. Starting with AWS Marketplace now supports paid container software on Amazon Elastic Kubernetes Service, EKS.
Oh, look, Splunk is a container, and the build to go with it.
That's really cool, actually. It'd be good to distribute your apps that way.
I want to sell something on it now. I'm
Yeah.
getting excited again to sell something on the
Ooh, what are you
Marketplace.
going to sell, Peter? Some lightning round organizer container? For
Yeah.
$100 an hour?
Exactly. You don't know what it is, but just buy it and spin it up, and you might, if I'm lucky, you might forget it's running.
That's the secret to many pay-as-you-go models, I think,
Yep.
on Amazon.
I really want the Marketplace to support Lambdas, and I want to provide a Lambda and let people invoke it remotely, and they pay me per invocation. I just provide the service.
There you go. Moving on, Amazon Elasticache announces online configuration changes for all planned operations with the latest Redis 5.0.5.
But what about all the online configuration changes for unplanned operations? Do those too?
Ooh, what does happen with those? Feature request. Amazon ECS supports automated draining for Spot instances running ECS services.
It's about time. This should have been like day one feature.
ECS is clearly swirling the drain, so I guess it just has to keep going down this path of giving you automated draining.
That's pretty good.
Does it swirl the other way in Australia?
It doesn't, because they just bubble. It's the worst flushing toilet. That's the one thing I missed when I lived there, is a really good flushing toilet.
I didn't know you lived there.
Yeah, 2 years.
Oh, I was there for a year and a half. Mate.
Ooh. I never said g'day. Never said mate. Amazon Linux 2 AMI with .NET Core now includes Mono.
I mean, I don't know that Mono is something I want to get, but I'm glad Amazon Linux does. Don't share soda with it, though.
That's a very poor choice of name in hindsight.
Mono is always a really bad name. And then, I didn't realize that Microsoft actually, I think, sued them or something. And then basically because they were a non-profit organization, they just bought them.
Oh, there you go. Azure Data Factory mapping data flows are now generally available.
I guess I want to map my data flow. I can do it now. Great.
Excellent.
In my data factory, which is a lot of words put together that don't make any sense.
That's a lot of words put together. Because I can't, it's bad when you can't tell which one is supposed to be like the adjective and which one's supposed to be the verb. Who's acting on what? It's like, I don't know, dude.
They must have hired somebody from the Systems Manager, Session Manager team.
Yeah.
Yes, clearly.
Excellent. Customers can now provide keys with Azure Storage Service encryption.
Really? They couldn't take a customer-provided key until now? This is crazy to me that this hasn't been a thing, because this is one of those big blockers for companies moving to the cloud in general is that if I can't control my encryption keys and I can't I don't trust you, then how do I do this properly? And I can't believe they didn't have this, but well, good for them.
You'd think they needed it for Jedi, but
you would have thought so.
They just leave the keys under the doormat.
Nice. Now use private link endpoint policies to better control Amazon ECR access.
This is actually really nice. This is a good one. If you have an account that's doing multiple things and you have servers that shouldn't be accessing your containers, particularly web servers, maybe that's a nice improvement. So glad to see this one come to fruition.
Yeah, it reminds me of one of the things we talked about on the Roaring Elephant podcast was about containing the blast radius. Now that these services are internet based, API driven services instead of in the data center. So it's good that they're trying to take control of that risk again.
The Amazon RDS for Oracle supports user authentication with Kerberos and Microsoft Active Directory.
Did you know that Amazon is a very large Oracle customer?
Still,
yeah. They're paying for Oracle right here. This is they were on the slide until Larry cut them down the next slide.
That's crazy. I wonder when we're going to get it should be LarryDB, shouldn't they? Amazon RDS, LarryDB with Oracle compatibility.
That'd be pretty good. DynamoDB Mapper now supports optimistic locking for Amazon DynamoDB transactional API calls.
For when your DynamoDB tables are half full.
Ooh. Oh, goodness. That was perfect.
Is DynamoDB Mapper like Mongo Mapper? Is this literally a port of Mongo Mapper for Dynamo?
It's almost SQL. It's great. We got transactions. DynamoDB announces relational database tables.
With multiple indexes versus the 2 that you can have now.
Let's face it, they probably do a better job than SQL Server.
Yeah. All right. AWS Certificate Manager Private Certificate Authority now includes nine new certificate templates. Announcing the latest release of AWS ThinkBox Deadline 10.1 with performance enhancements and ease of use improvements.
I was thinkboxing about this earlier, then I hit the deadline, and I still don't know what the service is. Occasionally there's a service that comes up in the news that I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing. And this is one of those services.
There you go. Amazon Elastic Container Service now supports IntelliSense in Visual Studio Code.
Only Amazon would release a press release about autocomplete. Fantastic.
Must have been a slow news day that day.
Yep. You can now queue purchases of EC2 RIs.
Oh, good. They finally learned about cron at AWS.
Do not forget to unsubscribe for the auto-renewal. That $3 million bill will be pretty shocking.
Oopsie.
That's quite the way to mess up your company, your former employer. As you're leaving, you go set up a queuing purchase, and then you leave. And then you short the stock 6 months later.
Oh, my goodness. And then do not pass go, do not collect $200, straight to jail. AWS Backup enhances SNS notifications to filter on job status.
Yes, who wanted to know whether their job completed or failed?
I mean, I always love when you get thousands of completed successfully emails because they're so helpful.
It's so hard to get that thing to fail though. Like you never get a failed email. Try to simulate a failure. We've tried so hard to simulate like a snapshot failure or something. Never gonna happen.
That's weird because my old backup scripts used to fail all the time.
Well, that was before the cloud. The cloud's more reliable, Peter.
Yeah.
Maybe you can make that a PFR, Jonathan, to mock a backup failure.
Stub in there you go.
I figured the only way to do it was to start like 5 concurrent snapshots at the same volume, and then the 6th one will fail. But that's
turn off the box halfway through.
It doesn't help.
It doesn't help.
Nope, it's just too good. It's too good.
Too good. AWS Direct Connect announces Resiliency Toolkit to help customers order resilient connectivity to AWS.
There's a company called Comcast. They make cable modems. And there's another company called AT&T, and they also make internet service. And if you call both of them and you say, I like a circuit in my data center, I get 2 of them. And they're different paths. And that's resiliency. So, I mean, that's all this service is offering to you. I just saved you a bunch of time and effort. So you're welcome.
Now I see what I've been doing wrong. I've been calling Comcast the whole time and telling them I want.
So if you call Comcast for both sides, this won't work for you ever. It only works. It works fine until Comcast goes down. It's actually kind of funny this one because we, in our very complicated network, we have multiple data centers. And then we have direct connects at 2 of the data centers, but we have a single link at each of those data centers. And then if we have a failure of one of those links of the direct connect, we actually can route the traffic on our backbone to the other AWS region, and then that would access the rest of the AWS. But every time we do a well-architected review, it comes up as the number one finding, like, your Direct Connect is not highly available and resilient. And I'm like, yeah, because it's designed that way, dorks. Yeah. But
yeah.
They don't understand that one at all. And they're like, you should do a well-architected review of this. I'm like, why? So you can tell me that I'm missing a link that I already know I'm missing, that I did on purpose to save me a lot of money?
AWS Snowball Edge now supports offline software updates for Snowball Edge devices in air-gapped environments.
I never realized that people apparently buy snowballs and just leave them in their data center forever, air-gapped, so they need to be updated. It seems like something that you would be very transient, wouldn't you? You order the snowball, you copy your 1,000 petabytes to the fleet of snowballs you bought, and then you ship it back. And then wouldn't Amazon update it? Why do I have to do it in my data center unless I'm holding it on for too long, which I guess that's what people do?
I'm envisioning 5.25-inch floppy.
1 million of them.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Insert next disk.
I've still got some of my original like Dell computer USB sticks from when USB memory sticks were new, and they're like 16 meg each.
Oh yeah.
The Snowball Edge was like Amazon's solution for mobile Amazon data center at whatever location you want, because they tied Outpost to a local region, and it doesn't work offline. But the Edge you can deploy anywhere, in a container with a power supply, and you've got portable Amazon data center.
But still, the point is that you're doing large scale data transfer in an air-gapped account or on a cruise ship or whatever else. Eventually, the data still has to go back to AWS. So eventually, you're going to ship it back to them. So I just don't know how long people hold these onto these, that they need to worry about software updates.
Maybe they just found that people wanted a different use case for what they imagined when they made the product available.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, like they get the thing, and then they're trying to load data, and it's not working, and the tech support team is like, oh, you need a software update. And they're like, huh? I'm not shipping it back to you to wait for the software update. Send me the software.
This kind of screams of military use cases, I think, for air-gapped snowballs to provide AI and compute, in the middle of nowhere.
It's definitely interesting, too. I wonder, how many people are like, hey, I need storage in my data center. I'll just call Amazon and get a snowball. And they just pay for it forever in their data center. I wonder if that's
I'm going to compare the price of that with a NetApp or something, honestly, and see quite how they compare.
Amazon Kinesis Data Firehose adds cross-account delivery to Amazon Elasticsearch service. Lawsuit.
But I think the Amazon Elasticsearch service was with a partnership with Elasticsearch. So is that also under the lawsuit?
Oh, no. Elasticsearch claimed that it was never a partnership.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would think this makes sense that you would want to have, if you're using Kinesis as your logging transport layer, that you'd like to be able to send multiple accounts to one single Elasticsearch service. So there you go. I think I saw a blog post actually earlier somewhere ranting about how awful the Amazon Elasticsearch service is. I'll find a link to that and post it.
There you go.
A pretty good Medium blog post I saw this morning.
A good Medium blog post. Wow, that's a
first. There's many that are good. It just Medium is a terrible platform. So
they should have called it mediocre.
Now, ooh,
that's a ding.
Medium. Application load balancer and network load balancer add new security policies for forward secrecy with more stringent protocols and ciphers.
And if you talk about it, they'll have to shoot you.
Yeah, I just told you. Now I have to kill you.
I don't know why this is newsworthy. I'm glad you added new security policies that are more secure and more stringent. It seems like something you should do as a cloud provider.
That's what they do. They make news. They make announcements about teeny little features.
All right, Peter, what's the score?
So I had this one neck and neck. Exactly half the points went to Jonathan, and exactly half the points went to Justin. But Jonathan's half was half full.
Hey.
Wow. All right. All right. I have marked you down, Jonathan. It's 11-15.
Excellent.
I don't know about that scoring there.
That was pretty fun. Come on. That was perfect.
Excellent. Very nice.
Again, check us out on the Roaring Elephant podcast if you want to hear us talk about cloud, pod, weather for report, as they're calling it. And then, of course, my YouTube video, and tweet at us if you'd like to tell us what you think about either the Roaring Elephant podcast or the my YouTube video. And you can tell me how awful it is. It's fine. I'm okay with it. Anyways, and we'll see you guys all next week here at the Cloud Pod. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
And that is the Week in Cloud. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Foghorn Consulting. Subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and tweet us your feedback at #TheCloudPod. Or join our Slack channel, go to our website, thecloudpod.net, for sign-up instructions.